comments coming in. This is perfect. Okay. Everybody ready to talk potty training today? Probably not, right? I know it's one of those things that a lot of parents tend to not look forward to so much, but hi, Erin. So this is, it's National Potty Training Month. Who knew there was even such a thing, right? But hi, Yanel. Okay. Hi, Joanna. Okay, so so we're going to be talking about potty training today, and specifically, I'm going to be covering 3 potty training hacks that every parent, I think, should know because it really can be, they can all be total game changers in the process. So, hi, Shannon. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. Hey, Brittany. Oh, from Iowa. Okay. Agnes, good to see you. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Okay, so I'm going to dive in with a little bit of an intro here so that you guys can get to know me a little bit before we get started. For those of you that don't know, my name is Allison Jandu. I am a professional potty training consultant, founder of Potty Training Consultant LLC, and I'm also a mama of 2 myself. So I have a 5-year-old, he's about to turn 6. His name is Evan, and I have a 4-year-old named Layla, and yes, they are close together in age. They're 22 months apart, so almost 2 years, not quite. I tell you this because being a mom myself, I have been down there in the trenches with you guys, so I know that potty training can be challenging to say the least. So, but it doesn't have to be terrible. So that's kind of why I started doing what I do because I feel like there's so much information out there online about potty training, and it gets kind of overwhelming because you don't really know what's true and what's not, or what will work for you and what won't. And I personally, I struggled potty training. My son was easy, but I really struggled potty training my daughter, and that's when I kind of started realizing that that there should be some more resources out there on this for parents. There's not a whole lot of reliable stuff that you can really count on. So that was kind of the basis behind starting Potty Training Consultant LLC. And that's my goal, is to bring the most accurate, up-to-date information to parents that that need help with their potty training journeys. So I help families from from all over the world, from kids of all ages. I've worked with people with families as young as kids as 14 months old, and then up to 11 years old, including people with special needs and those kinds of things. So I cover a lot, and I'm so happy to be doing this. I know a lot of people kind of dread potty training, like I said before, but it really is my passion. So I'm here and I'm happy to help. So if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments as we're going through. I'm going to have a few minutes at the end to answer some of those for you, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in and talk about the 3 potty training hacks that every parent should know when potty training. Who doesn't want to know that, right? We all need some hacks in our back pocket when it comes time to potty training. So tip number 1 is to count down the days to no more diapers. Before you even think about starting potty training, it's really helpful to prepare your child for the process, and not only to prepare them for the potty training itself, but to prepare them for the idea that their routine is about to be changing. Especially, once the kiddos get a little bit older, like once they get 2.5, 3, 4 years old, they really form a connection. They really rely on their day-to-day routine, and they really, that's what brings them comfort, is waking up and knowing what to expect every day. So when you kind of dive in and ditch diapers cold turkey on them one day without any warning, it can kind of put them off a little bit. Their defense mechanisms go up automatically because you're throwing something new at them and they weren't prepared for it. So I find that it really helps that if you take about 3 to 5 days before you're about to start the potty training process, wake up each morning with them and kind of X off the day on the calendar together. And you can really use that opportunity to really build their confidence, say, hey, 3 more days until you're a big boy. You're going to be using the potty like mommy and daddy. or, 3 days until no more diapers, and we're going to send your diapers to a baby that needs them, or something like that, just to kind of prepare them for the upcoming change. And it really helps them gain that confidence in themselves. And it also helps them kind of realize that, that the change is coming, and it makes it seem more real and more permanent. So that way you don't necessarily get as much pushback once you actually start the process. And during that time frame, during that 3 to 5 day period, whatever you choose to do the countdown, you can take that opportunity to bring some positive aspects of potty training into their daily routine. So change one of their bedtime stories to a potty training book, or make one of the videos that you watch together during the day about potty training. Or my favorite thing to do is to, kind of like role play with one of their favorite dolls or toys, and have them kind of teach the doll or the toy how to use the potty. And, kids learn really well through play. So that's one of the best kind of things that you can do to teach them. And they don't really feel like they're being taught, but it's still fun for them. And that will help them kind of, accept it more once it's their turn to actually do it. So that was hack number one. Hack number two is for when you actually start the potty training process. Because sometimes, I get a lot of parents that contact me all day, every day. And one of the most common problems that I hear from them is that they can't, like, their little one will want to sit on the potty and try to go, but they aren't able to let anything out. So they have problems with, with releasing their pee or releasing their poop. Poop probably more commonly, because that can be a whole beast all in itself. And I have a question actually that was submitted earlier, so we're going to talk a little bit about poop later on in the Q&A session. But a very important hack that you should remember if your child ever has a problem with this, or you don't even have to wait for there to be a problem, you can just do it anyway, is to let them blow bubbles while they're sitting on the potty. And it sounds really crazy, and so super simple that how could it possibly work? But when we blow, when you inhale and exhale, you can kind of feel it in your core, right? In your core muscles. And that also at the same time is releasing and contracting your pelvic floor muscles. And our pelvic floor muscles are what hold in our pee or hold in our poop. So when you're releasing and contracting those by blowing bubbles, it's going to help your child release their pee on the potty. And I actually posted a little bit about this on my Instagram page a couple weeks ago, and I had a few moms reach out to me, and they were like, "Yeah, the nurses at the hospital told me to do that after I gave birth, to help me get out that first pee or that first poop when I was right after I had given birth, because that can be a challenge, I think, as we all know." So it does work. There is backed science and medicine behind that. So it's definitely something a handy little trick that you can keep in your back pocket, because your kiddo won't necessarily realize that it's a hack to get them to pee or poop on the potty. They'll just be like, "Oh, cool, we get to blow bubbles inside. We don't get to do this usually." And it can be a fun distraction to keep them sitting there long enough to actually release on the potty, and it physically is going to get them to release on the potty. So tuck that one away, because you could definitely use that in the future. And then hack number three is going to be for when you're kind of transitioning out of the initial potty training phases and into, back into your regular routine post diapers. So this hack is to, when you're buying your kiddo new underwear, buy them in a size too big. And the reason for that is because it's going to help with their body awareness, right? So you'll hear a lot of potty training methods, a lot of the popular ones out there involve your child being naked for a certain period of time initially. And the reason for that, and I usually get behind that pretty often, because it really is an important body awareness activity for them. So when you take away their diaper, and if you take away the diaper and put underwear on right away, especially like underwear that's really snug fitting, they're not necessarily going to be able to make that distinction. And that muscle memory that they've created from just releasing when their bottom is covered from having a diaper on for their whole life up until this point, they're not going to be able to make that distinction as clearly as if there's nothing on their bottom at all. So if you, start out the process with them being naked, and I don't recommend staying naked for too long, because then you end up with a kid that's only potty trained when they're naked, and, that might be okay in the COVID world because we're all quarantined, but once we have to get back out into real life, that's not going to work so well. So to kind of bridge that gap and to ease that transition, I recommend getting underwear that are looser fitting. You can even find little boxer shorts for boys, which are super cute, and they might really dig that they look like dad's underwear too. Or you can just get a size bigger in briefs or boxer briefs, and it helps if it's like a thinner, breathable material too, because that's gonna more so mimic that feeling of them being naked, and it's gonna be way less easily confused with the feeling of a diaper, and that's gonna help with their body awareness. So that's something else that you can try once you actually start the potty training process. So, so those are all some fun kind of little hacks that you can try. And there are a ton of questions coming in, so I want to take some time to try to get to some of those. And I actually already had a few that were submitted from before, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna go access those real quick. Let's see here. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Okay, the first question was from Debbie Martin. She says, my 4-year-old finally started peeing in her potty at home back in January. She won't use the potty at school, and she refuses to poop in the potty, and she still poops in her panties or holds it until she is in her pull-up for rest and bed, and she absolutely freaks out if I suggest it or even sit her on it if she says she feels the poop coming. So, okay. Anybody else out there having problems with poop? It's probably one of the number one things that parents complain about during potty training because, like I said, it can kind of be a whole separate beast. So drop me a raised hand in the comments if you've ever struggled with poop, or if you're currently struggling with poop, or if you're worried about your little one struggling with poop once you start potty training. It can be, yeah, Nikki. Even my own daughter, she suffered from chronic constipation from the time she was about 10 months old. And actually, it took up until about a year ago for us to like fully get it under control for her. And she still has occasional bouts of it. So it's a very real problem, constipation in kids. So keep an eye out for that, especially if your little one is already prone to constipation before starting the potty training process. Once you actually dive in and ditch the diapers, there is a greater chance of that recurring. So you definitely want to be on guard to take action and be proactive to prevent it from getting to the point where they're having painful bowel movements, because what that's going to do is they're going to withhold, and that's going to cause the constipation, and then the constipation is going to cause painful bowel movements, and then the painful bowel movements is going to cause them to withhold, and then that's going to cause constipation, and you see where I'm going. It's like a vicious cycle. So the best thing that you can do is, like I said, be proactive and do what you can to prevent the constipation from happening before it even becomes a problem. And you can do that in a number of ways. And I have on my Instagram page, I hope you all go follow me on Instagram at Potty Training Consultant, because that's probably the best place for you to go and get free resources from me. I do have a highlight on my profile, and the highlights are those little hot pink bubbles on my profile right under the description. And I have one called Poop Tips, and that has tons of information about constipation and how to treat it. It has information about diarrhea and how to treat it. And then it also has a lot of tips about just how to get your child to poop on the potty in general, which is what we're all after. It can be very challenging, but the bubble trick too also works wonders. And if your little one's even struggling to want to sit and try when it comes to pooping, probably as a result of some sort of fear, whether it be, from pain, from constipation, or just a fear of the unknown, like they might not know what happens once the poop goes into the potty, and that can be kind of scary for them. Because if you think about it, pooping on the potty is actually a very different sensation than pooping in a diaper, because when you poop in a diaper, as gross as it sounds, and the poop comes out and it stays right up against their body, and that kind of brings a sort of comfort to them, right? Because it's what they're used to, it's all they're known. And then when you ask them to poop on the potty instead and the poop comes out and away from their body, that can be a little bit scary. You know, I've had child psychologists and things describe it as like a part of their body falling out, which that would freak me out too. So try to be a little understanding of that and, you know, get them some fun new distractions that they can do while they're sitting on the potty. The positioning of them being on the potty is super important. So you want to make sure that their feet are supported and that their knees are elevated just slightly above their hips. And that's going to, because our rectum has, not to get too anatomical on you, but our rectum, when we're standing or when we're upright, it actually has a kink in it. And that's what keeps us from just, you know, pooping ourselves. So when you sit in like a squatting position, like I was saying, you know, with your feet supported and your knees slightly above your hips, then that is going to unkink your rectum and it makes the poop come out with, you know, as minimal effort on the child's part as possible. So you really want to make sure that they're in that kind of prime poop position is what I call it. And there's lots more poop tips, like I said, on my Instagram page. So make sure you guys are giving me a follow and go check that out. So I could talk about poop all day, and I won't because we have a lot of other questions to cover too. So let me see what the next one is here. The next one is from Brittany Ann. She says, I have a 2.5-year-old son. He'll be 3 in November. He won't let me change him, refuses to go near the potty. I have no idea what to do. He won't sit on it. He only plays on it. Even if I give him a phone or a book or anything, he just refuses, but he hates diaper changes. Okay, so this, yeah, kids are so fun, aren't they? 2.5 years old, you know, is when they really start to get their independence. You know, they start to find their voice. If they don't want to do something, they will let you know about it. And so that's kind of why I try to suggest tackling potty training before it gets to that point. I like to say like 22 to 28 months is an ideal range, but you know what, whatever. The ship has sailed, so it doesn't matter. You can't go back in time and potty train earlier. And for a lot of parents, you know, that window just doesn't work for them. So, you know, I'm just throwing it out there just for those of you who haven't started yet. If you're looking for an ideal time to start, that is, you know, kind of the ideal window, 22 to 28 months. That being said, though, for this little guy in Brittany's situation, you could try to, you know, to take a slightly different approach. You could take a more gradual approach with it. And you could let him choose his own potty, maybe from online. I know we can't really go out to stores right now yet in a lot of places. But you can show him some potties online and let him pick one that, you know, that he likes. And a lot of times when you're giving kids back some of that control that they feel is being taken away from them when you're, you know, telling them to do something new, then that can encourage them to want to actually try it. So if he feels like he's involved and he's part of the process, then he'll be more likely to willingly try the potty. And you can also try to reason with him a little bit, not in when he's in that kind of manic state, when he's getting his diaper changed and he's upset about it, but in a time where he's calm. You know, you can kind of talk to him a little bit and be like, would you like if we didn't have to change your diaper anymore? And if he says yeah, then you can be like, well, you know, we can start putting your pee and poop in the potty and that will solve that problem. So you can, you know, kind of approach it gradually that way. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, but I know it can be tough. So let's see. Okay, Yanelle, she says, my son is going to be 2 in November, but it's hard to co-parent. Yeah, co-parenting and a week with her and a week with dad. She needs tips and advice. So that can definitely be very challenging, especially if it's a newer scenario. Even if it's not, though, you definitely want to make sure that you're being consistent with what's being done at mom's house and at dad's house. So I always suggest sitting down together and coming up with a plan if you can stand each other long enough. Writing out a plan, like actually write it down, like make some bullet points of what you're going to try and what you're going to do, and have it written out and have it in place before you get started. So that way everybody's on the same page and everybody can kind of follow along and you know, they don't have different expectations when they are switching from one house to another. So you don't want to have you don't want to have things up in the air because, like I said before, kids find comfort in consistency. So you want them to know what to expect when it comes to potty use from one house to the next. If he goes to dad's house and he gets a diaper put on him there, and you're trying to potty train at home, it's going to backfire on you probably. So try to keep everything on an even keel, get everybody in agreement, and it should work out pretty well. But I know that is challenging, so try to hang in there. Um, and then I see, okay, Fran says, Nicholas will be 2 in August. I don't even know where to begin. Hashtag help me potty train. Okay, Fran. Um, yeah, so hopefully the hacks today have given you a little bit of a starting point at least. But the best things you can do, I like to say, are you want to prepare your child with some of the tips that I mentioned earlier. And then you want to prepare yourself too, because I think a lot of parents overlook that step and we just kind of dive in and hope for the best without, fully preparing ourselves mentally for the changes that are coming. Um, that can be one of the hardest parts. You have to make sure that you're kind of mentally in the right place to tackle this because it's a change for you too. Diapers are convenient, right? Like you don't have to worry about finding a bathroom or them having an accident because you have to wait too long or being in the car for too long and all that kind of stuff. You just slap a diaper on them and then you'll change it when you get there, kind of thing. So make sure that you're in a spot to fully commit and that you're prepared. I always say think of potty training as a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to be a longer process. It's going to be an ongoing process, I should say. You can bang it all out in that initial 2 or 3 day period that a lot of people talk about, like those weekend and 3 day methods. And that's a great way to kind of instill the basics and get that groundwork laid. But it does require maintenance beyond that. So just because your kiddo doesn't seem to get it after the first 3 days, that doesn't mean that you should throw in the towel necessarily. You have to be in it for the long haul, unfortunately, as hard as it can be. So that's another important thing that you want to think about before starting. And if you guys are looking for tips on how to kind of go through the whole process, I'm actually offering a special promotion on my online course, which is called Potty Training Doesn't Have to Stink: How to Ditch the Diapers and Love Life Doing It. And it's a fully online course platform, and it has everything that you need to know about potty training. It includes, daytime, nighttime poop training, troubleshooting, how to prepare, and it comes with access for 6 months, so you don't have to be ready to potty train right now if you don't want to. And you also get support via the discussion boards inside the course for 6 months, and that is where you can hop on and ask me a question and I will get back on within 24 hours or so and answer it personally. So you can potty train with a pro in your back pocket, and you can use code BabyFirst. Sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. You can use code BabyFirst to save $350, and that's like about 75% of the cost. So it brings it down to $129. So use code BabyFirst, and I'll post the link here in the comments for anybody that's interested in that. So for those of you who don't have any idea on where to start with potty training, that would be a really good resource for you. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay, Anna Paula says, my daughter is 3.5. She was 30 weeks when she was born. She's super behind and has a speech delay. ECI also said she has signs of autism. I don't have an idea on how to start potty training. I bought her a potty, bring her to the bathroom, which is great. But it's so hard. Okay, so when it comes to speech delay, and I run into that quite a bit. So speech delay, autism, communication delay, those kinds of things, they seem to go hand in hand with later or longer potty training experiences. So kiddos that have some kind of communication delay are likely going to be ready for potty training later than an average ability child, and nobody really knows why that is, but it is helpful to have that communication worked out, at least even if they're only able to communicate physically via signs or pointing or body language, whatever. having that communication is really important. So I wouldn't be, I wouldn't work yourself up about it too much. It's nothing you're doing wrong. It sounds like actually you're doing everything right. So a gradual approach is going to be really ideal when it comes to children with autism. And you're going to want to model the behavior like you're doing. You're going to want to show them books and cue card, like visual cue cards and things like that outline each step of using the potty, as opposed to trying to tackle everything at one time. To kind of break it down into manageable chunks that they can master as they go along. And you definitely want to take into account any kind of sensory issues that they might have in advance. If they're sensitive to cold or loud noises, or being alone or being with a new person or a stranger or something like that. You want to take all those things into account before you start potty training, so that way you can set them up for success as much as possible based on how it's going to work for them. Because I always say there's no one size fits all potty training method. You got to kind of customize it by child. So, and you're the expert on your child, so you can definitely make it happen and sort through the information and find out what's going to work best for you. Let's see, I think we have time for one more question, so let me go through here. Gosh, you guys have been awesome. There's been so many. Let me go back up to the top. Okay. Excuse me. My daughter is 2.5 and has no interest in potty training at all. This is from Venetra. She won't even let me know when she's wet. I'm completely lost on what to do. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. And don't worry, because it's not just you at all. It's kind of a big misunderstanding out there, I think, that, one day the light bulb's going to go off over your child and they're going to be ready for potty training, and you're just going to know it because they're going to want to do it themselves. And the fact is that, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, that doesn't happen. There are a lot of classic signs that you can look for as far as being ready for potty training. Things like staying dry for longer periods throughout the day, wanting to go to the bathroom or be in the bathroom and, explore in there, staying dry for naps and overnight, hiding to poop. Like, there are all these kind of classic signs that you can look for when it comes to readiness for potty training, but not every kid, it shows those signs. So what do you do in that case? I usually tell parents, that, your little one is capable of potty training around that 20-month mark. Physiologically, all average children are ready at that point, to tackle potty training. That means that, their bodies can handle the concept and their brains are at the level to where they can execute it. So don't feel bad if they aren't, necessarily showing those blatant signs. If you are ready to make that commitment and to take on the challenge and to be your child's teacher and to be there for them consistently, then you can make it happen. So don't feel bad about it. I can tell you that it usually is easier to start earlier than wait longer, because, excuse me, the longer you wait, the greater chance there are for like power struggles to develop and things like that. And that just doesn't make the process pleasant for anybody. So unfortunately, the longer you wait, the harder it gets in most cases. So keep that in mind as you're going through, that as long as you're ready, then, once you hit that 20-month, 22-month mark or so, then you can tackle it and you can get it done. So I see there are a ton of other questions here, and that's awesome. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I just hit 30 minutes, so I'm going to let you know that you can still post your questions here. Keep them coming in the comments, and throughout the week, I'll be going back through and I'll be answering as many as I can. Like I said before, make sure you're following me on Facebook, is also at Potty Training Consultant, and Instagram at Potty Training Consultant. I have tons of free tips and resources on there. You can scroll through all my highlight bubbles, and I'm always posting kind of new free tips and information on there. And I also have a blog, which is pottytrainingconsultant.com/blog. I'll post that link as well, so you can access some of the articles that I've written there. And let's see. So let's review our topic one more time. which were our 3 potty training hacks. So the first hack was to count down the days to no more diapers on the calendar. The second hack was to blow bubbles to help your child release their pee and poop on the potty. And then the third hack was to buy underwear that are a size too big when you're ready to make that switch. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you have a better outlook about potty training after coming here. Like I said, post your questions and don't forget to use that coupon code of BabyFirst to get $350 off my online course. It's just for you guys for joining me today. And I'll post that link in the comments too for anybody that wants to go over and snag that deal. So thank you guys so much. I'll be answering your questions throughout the week. And good luck. Happy pottying. Bye.